Wow, I definitely turned the lighting down a lot. Good evening, Inner Peas. I'm just noticing that it's really dark. I guess I turned the lights down too low. We'll just call it mood lighting. Setting the right mood for tonight's trivia game. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, Inner Peas. Pigeon Mac, it says 4 p.m. on your start time. It does. Hello, Cement Shoes. It's 4:01 right now. Welcome home, Pigeon Mac and Cement Shoes. I hope you are having a wonderful weekend. I mean, I want. So I was just saying that I turned the lighting down to the brightness. It's really dark. You can barely even see my shirt except for the shoulders. Yeah, well, that's my fault. I'm gonna be in my little tiny window anyways. You can hear me. Tonight we're doing last meals of the condemned. Looks fine to you? Well, that's good. We're doing the last meals of the condemned tonight. If you guys want to know what trivia, question, what we're going to do, what the topic is, if you go to 411 now and you go to my main page where you can actually scroll down to the different playlists, at the top of there, it has upcoming trivia nights, and there's an entire section there now that has each and every one of the trivia nights and the subject matter. So tonight is last meals of the condemned. Next week is last meals of the stars. That's Hollywood and music. Then we're doing Al Capone. And of course, it's too far up for me to read. Then serial killer nicknames. And then true crime trivia. That's a little bit of a mixed bag. We're going to do trivia questions. So I think that brings us all the way through to, I want to say, the 20 something of next month. Anything about Lawrence Welk? I don't know. Inner Peas, to tell you the truth. I don't have the actual questions in front of me without actually pulling them up. Good evening, okie dokie. I don't know if Lawrence Welk is on there. I think Frank Sinatra is on there, though. For the last meal of Frank Sinatra. Tiny bubbles. Welcome, okie dokie. Good evening, love the sun. And welcome to tonight's trivia. We're going to get started here in about 30 seconds. But you're just in time. As always, Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you don't want to read, or learn about some of this type of content, viewer discretion is advised. There's nothing you'll see on the screen is graphic in nature. But all right, let's go ahead and get the first question up. First question, get myself my little window. David Wayne Stoker, a man who never showed weakness or remorse, made 6 requests for his final meal. They only gave him 3 of those things. What were they? A, cheeseburger, fries, and ice cream. B, pizza, breadsticks, and soda. C, lobsters, clams, and black coffee. D, a magazine, a glass of water, and a Snickers. They only gave him 3 of his 6 requests. Which 3 did he actually get? I'm crazy busy with this new job, third shift running laundromat now because my drains are broken. I'm sorry. Tony, Lady Lucan, good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. First question on the screen is David Wayne Stoker, a man who never showed weakness or remorse, made 6 requests for his final meal. They only gave him 3 of those things. What were they? Inner peas with E. Hot Pockets. That is actually something that they do serve, a generic version of Hot Pockets in county jails and in the prison system. It's actually on the meal plan for Josh Duggar at Seagoville Federal Penitentiary. I'm trying to remember. I'm looking around here. I don't see it out on the table. I'm trying to remember where I put that. But it's actually the Hot Pockets are on the actual lunch tray, or I think it is for one of the days. It's an optional lunch item. Good evening, Purple. F. Lori Vallow used Skittles and one she didn't use for lipstick. One she didn't use for lipstick. Skittles. They use all kinds of inventive things. For eye blush, they use the pages of magazines. They put a little bit of Vaseline and use a Q-tip and smear it around on the actual ink itself and on a magazine, and then they can use that to apply it like mascara. Newspapers, paperwork that's been printed from attorneys. They use all kinds of things. They're very inventive. Jolly Ranchers, J for Jolly Ranchers. Fireballs, fireball candies. Yeah, but they do. If it makes them feel a little, most inmates, especially women, those who identify as female and women, if it makes them feel a little bit better, I mean, why not? If it makes you feel a little bit more, humane and comfortable being in jail, or prison, and you can put on some kind of makeup like that without getting in trouble. I mean, knock yourself out. Sure, there are men who are wadding up, tissues and stuff like that and shoving them into their shoes to make themselves look taller, or more endowed. I'm sure that there are men who do things as well. Those who identify as male men. Juicy Jules. Hiya, Will. Hello. All right. Question number 1. David Wayne Stoker, a man who never showed weakness or remorse, made 6 requests for his final meal. They only gave him 3 of those things. What were they? The correct answer to question 1 is A as in apple. Cheeseburgers, he got 2 cheeseburgers, a order of French fries, and ice cream. 100% of it came directly from the kitchen. They did not go out and actually procure a Whopper or a Big Mac or anything for him. It was all made from food that was there on the prison system grounds already. And that's what a lot of penitentiaries do when it comes to the final meal. If they don't have it there, they're not going to get it, or they will allow you. Okay, if we can procure it within like a 16-mile radius of the prison, and it has a maximum dollar amount, they say we'll spend no more than $50 on your final meal. And then there's the state of Texas, which doesn't give any inmate any option at all. You get exactly nothing or what everyone else is eating. But all right, going on to question number 2. Robert Anthony Madden, in his own words, I never met a man I would trust. I never met a woman who didn't make me want to kill her eventually. What was his final meal? Was it A, apple pie and black coffee? B, steak, mashed potatoes, and milk? C, nothing he refused to eat? Or D, a loaf of garlic bread and Pepsi? 6 cents, Amelia. Good evening, Amelia, and welcome to tonight's trivia night. Juicy Jewel, A, B, C. Picture Max Bone was C. Robert Anthony Madden. Lady Lucan is going with D. Montana McInnes. Innes? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name there, but welcome to tonight's trivia. Tony Reed. Mike Stevens in the house. Never heard of him? Good evening, Mike. Allah Akbar. Robert Anthony Madden. Well, smoke him if you got him while we think about who Robert Anthony Madden was. Hot Pockets. Where is that meal plan? I'm going to find the folder that it's in. Where are you, Josh Duggar? I mean, we know where Josh Duggar is. I'm looking for the file folder with Josh Duggar. Because there's like one day of the week that Hot Pockets are actually an optional item on the lunch menu. At Seagoville Penitentiary. Federal Penitentiary, I should say. It might be in the house. I'm guessing D on this fool. Amelia, what Amelia say? 2.5 beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Well, somebody's paid attention to the McDonald's jingle. Who is this? Oh, that's Samuel J. I got 4 Big Macs in the fridge. I love them. Do you? I mean, I've never found anything, Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, hey man, Burger King is the best or McDonald's is the best. I don't like fast food. It's just me though. I mean, I might eat it once every couple of months, if that. It's just it's emptiness calories to me. But to each their own. Sounds like a bad putting Josh Duggar. Hot Pockets in prison, all the same sentence. Texas, smart state. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it, Jesse Jules. Texas is the only state that actively uses the death penalty, that does not allow inmates to choose a special meal of any sort at all as their last meal before execution. They're the only state. Now, there is no federal constitutional law that says that you have to give them anything. You don't even have to give an inmate who is about to be executed even a glass of water, a cigarette, nothing. There's no laws, when it comes to the federal system that says that they're allowed to have anything. And when it came to the actual history of a final meal, you can trace that back to the Puritans when they first came to, and the colonial times when we first started settling this country. Can I have your autograph? All right. Question number 2. The correct answer is C as in cat, nothing. He refused to eat. And the reason why he refused to eat, I'm not joking, is he actually signed a letter and gave it to the warden, or gave it to the guard who was supposed to give it to the warden. He refused to eat because he believed that the food that they were giving him was poisoned. You're about to be executed in less than 24 hours. And you don't want to eat because you believe the food is poisoned. You might want to enjoy a bowl full of poison because you're not coming back from the execution. I choose a thin, crispy pizza from Pizza Hut. I couldn't tell you the last time I had Pizza Hut. I mean that's the truth. I can't remember the last time I've had Pizza Hut, Domino's. My wife always orders from Round Table, and I might get like a slice or two, as I'm coming through, the house, but it's not something that I eat a lot of. He's obviously not my people. We eat. All right, question 3. Again, question number 2. The correct answer was C. He ate nothing. Question number 3. Good old Teddy Bundy. People believe Ted Bundy didn't have a final meal or request. Truth is, he did have a request and a final meal. They just refused to fulfill his request. So what did he eat? Is what it should say. Was it A, cheese pizza, 2 Cokes, and 2 cookies? B, shrimp, lobster, cherry Kool-Aid? C, steak, eggs, hash browns, toast, and coffee? Or D, fried chicken, watermelon, and water to drink? Well, congratulations, Amelia. You got one. B, he's pretentious. Ted Bundy. What was Teddy's last meal? And then after I tell you the answer, I'll tell you what his final request was. But he definitely had a request, and he had a final meal. Love the Sun 100 is going with C. Pigeon Mac, A. Montana, C. Lady Lucan is going with B. What was Ted Bundy's last meal? E, meatballs. You are what you eat. A meatball. Ted Bundy. I'm embarrassed. I don't know these things. Teddy's my favorite. What death row inmate had the mint chocolate chip ice cream? Montana. I don't know if he's on the trivia tonight, but I'll tell you right now that the if he is, the answer, if it comes up and anybody sees mint chocolate ice cream, that the answer is Timothy McVeigh had 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Fava beans and nice Chianti. Use the Schwartz. I don't know if he's on here though, but that gives everybody the answer in case Timothy McVeigh pops up on here. So put that one in your pocket in case it comes up. That was Timothy McVeigh. Yep. He had 2 pints of chocolate chip mint ice cream or mint chocolate chip, whatever, same ice cream. But it was made in house. They didn't go out and buy it for him. They made it right in house. What was Ted Bundy's last meal? All right, question number 3, ladies and gentlemen. The correct answer is C as in cat. He had steak, eggs, hash browns, toast, and coffee. He had the standard fare meal. That his options were you can have what everybody else can have off, and he basically chose a breakfast meal: steak, eggs, hash browns, toast, and coffee. You might see pictures online that shows a big old T-bone steak and eggs and hash browns and coffee. The steak was actually like a Salisbury steak. The eggs were not over easy or in any cooking method he wanted or poached. They were scrambled eggs. The hash browns were little patties like you would get from McDonald's, and the toast was just 2 pieces of white toast toasted, and basic instant coffee for the coffee that he had with it. They gave him absolutely nothing special at all. Well, okay, so what was his final request? Since he had a request, Ted Bundy's request was he wanted his wife to be able to cook him the final meal, and they said, no. Hi everyone, I'm walking out. I'm out walking, just listening for now. Hello, Samantha, Mr. McDowell. Good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. Going on to question 4. Teresa Lewis said before she was put to death that the complete story of why she allegedly did this would come out someday. What was her last meal? Lady Lucan is 0 for 3. Ooh. Well, we got plenty of questions left, Lady Lucan. What was Teresa Lewis's last meal? A, 1 apple, 2 oranges, and 1 banana. B, a bowl of spinach with butter and hot sauce. C, a cheese sandwich and apples. Or D, fried chicken and buttered peas and pie. What was Teresa Lewis's final meal? Short Nice. Good evening, Short Nice. C, to go. cheese sandwich and apples. Short and Ice is going with D. Pigeon Mac C. Purple and Lady Lucan are both going with D, and so is Montana. I'm just kidding. What was Teresa Lewis? Teresa Lewis, convicted of murder, her husband, for hire. She actually tried to get several people to kill him. Is really spinach? What was Teresa Lewis's final meal? Cement Shoes is going with D. Fried chicken, buttered peas, and pie. Teresa Lewis. Apparently, American toilets are lower than British ones. I don't know what I'm going on. E. Her daddy Jerry bought her a Vegas buffet. Lewis, Jerry Lewis, Jerry Lee Lewis. It'd have to be during a telethon. Peas, it's the food, or you're turning cannibal. Teresa Lewis, what was her final meal? Richard Simmons dial a meal. I've got really awkward jokes about bananas in a woman's prison. I'm going to zip it and laugh. Oh, I'm sure there's some dingers there, Amelia. All right, Teresa Lewis. What was Teresa Lewis's last meal? Her last meal was D as in dog, fried chicken, buttered peas, and pie. D as in dog. All right, question number 5. We get a double header for number 5. 2 inmates, 1 crime. Fernando Nicola Sarko and Bartholomew Vanzetti, railroaded and convicted and put to death for crimes they likely didn't do. Put to death less than 4 hours apart. What was their last meal? Same meal to 2 different inmates. What was their last meal? Was it A, cheese, salad, and coffee? B, soup, meat, toast, and tea? Or C, soup, salad, breadsticks from Olive Garden? Or D, a whole pecan pie? For Teresa Lewis, what kind of pie? I don't know. I do not have any notes on that short night. I'm sorry. I was too busy laughing to choose an answer. I missed it. That's okay. Never heard of them? Fernando Sarko and Bartolo Vanzetti, they were convicted and railroaded for a robbery, a murder that even then the if you were reading the story of the what transpired even then when they were convicted, It just screamed like they were set up for the entire thing. They both, insisted that they were innocent, and they thought that the justice system would prevail, but it didn't. But we never know. Brian will have a salad. Did one of these inmates not eat his meal because he thought he would be able to come back for it later? I'm not sure, Montana. I know who you're talking about there, but I'm not sure if he's on this list or not. To tell you the truth, that's why I'm against the death penalty. Well, if you're for the death penalty or against the death penalty, I'll give you just a little brief um, background on the death penalty from 1976 when they reinstated the death penalty here in America, all the way to the last execution in 2022. From 1976 to 2022, every single state that has actively used the death penalty, it has never been proven to persuade an individual not to commit a violent crime. It's never been determined that it is an actual deterrent for violent crime. When they actually polled individuals who committed a violent crime, murder, and they were sentenced to death, they asked them, and in a series of interviews, did you do this? And if you did do this, regardless if you're innocent or not, because they all say they're innocent, would this have deterred you from committing the violent crimes that you have? And they have all said no, if I did it, speaking hypothetically. Now, in each and every state that has the death penalty, actively has been using it since 1976 again, the violent crime rate has gone up in states around that state that actually actively uses it. This information is not something that I'm making up. You can find it all on the Department of Justice's website on the death penalty and statistics of the death penalty from 1976 to now. Lumpia? Lumpia. I got lumpia in the house. A family friend made a whole bunch of lumpia for me and my wife. Love lumpia. All right. Question number 5. The two inmates, one crime. What was their last meal? The correct answer is B as in boy, soup, meat, toast, and tea. And we do not know what type of soup. We do not know what type of meat. We do not know what type of toast. We do not know the answers to that because it has been lost to history. They were given whatever the cook that was on that day wanted to supply them, and that's what they got. They got soup, meat, toast, and tea. Lucky Will? I guess so. It's very seldom that we get egg rolls or lumpia or anything else. Since my brother-in-law's mother passed away, she used to make but their family is Filipino, so they used to make lumpia and all kinds of different dishes for us, and they would just make them for us, and then we'd make food for them. But you could also special order it and then freeze it, so you decide how to pull it out and whenever you wanted. But unfortunately, a lot of the traditions and those who used to do these things for other families and for just as a side hustle, A lot of it's gone to the wayside, unfortunately. Is time consuming? Yeah, but purple, you can also buy, like kits. Like I know, like excuse me, we have an Asian store that's not too far from us. It's probably about 10 miles or so. Little tiny Asian store. You can buy everything there in like a kit. But with the younger generation now, they just don't have the time for it. What would your last meal? What would be your last meal? Me, short and nice. If I had my choice of anything, and God forbid that I'd ever be in that situation, but if I had to pick a last meal, it would probably be fettuccine or something along that line. Okay, question number 6. Ricky Ray Rector, who effectively lobotomized himself in a failed suicide attempt, eat a meal of steak chicken, but saved what, telling the guards he was saving it for later. My gosh. I think I might have been smoking crack when I wrote this one. Okay, Ricky Ray Rector, who effectively lobotomized himself in a failed suicide attempt. He ate a meal of steak and chicken, but saved what? Telling the guards he was saving it for later. Yes, that question about the inmate who was saving his meal to come back for it later is on this trivia, and I knew it was next. I just didn't want to admit to it right away, so it's right there. What was he saving to come back for after execution? Was it A bowl of ice cream, B, 2 slices of apple pie, C, a chocolate milkshake, or D, 1 slice of pecan pie? It's an egg roll type of food from the Philippines. Yes, it is. They're not like a like you go to like a Chinese restaurant and you probably get like an egg roll probably about 6 inches, 7 inches in length, and probably about the diameter of a quarter. Lumpia is generally about the thickness of your pinky finger, and about 5 to 6 inches in length. It all depends on who's making them, but they're not a really thick. But they're they're you eat them in basically in one bite. I mean, most people do. You can eat them in 2 bites, but they're good. They're very good. His lobotomized body part, Amelia. If you don't know what a lobotomy is, a frontal lobotomy is basically making the front cranial lobe of your brain. I believe it would be on the right hand side of your brain. Basically making it, detaching it from the rest of your brain or scrambling it. There was a time in medical history where they used to shove ice picks up the noses of those they considered mentally insane, because they thought it would cure everything from seizures to being insane. And they lobotomize them, basically turning them into walking zombies for the rest of their lives without medication. I had an egg roll. LOL. Cringe. Yeah. This guy gave himself a permanent frontal lobotomy in a failed suicide attempt. I don't like the sound of egg roll. Menudo. I haven't had Menudo in a long time. Haven't even heard the band Menudo in a long time. That's the name of a band as well. Menudo. From Mexico, Ricky Ray Rector, who effectively lobotomized himself in a failed suicide attempt. Ate a meal of steak and chicken, but saved what? Telling the guards he was saving it for later, thinking he was coming back after execution. Ricky Ray Rector. Was it a bowl of ice cream, 2 slices of apple pie, a chocolate milkshake, or a slice of pecan pie? Okay, I need to eat something. Ricky Ray Rector. What was he saving for later? Samantha Mr. McDowell is going with D, 1 slice of pecan pie. Guessing as usual. All right, question number 6. The correct answer is D as in dog, 1 slice of pecan pie. He had, at the time of execution, after the frontal lobotomy, he was in prison before his actual execution. They tested his IQ. He had the equivalent IQ of someone who would be about the second or third grade, education at that time. He couldn't answer certain questions that were more in length. He could only answer questions that were, short in detail. But instead of, basically, finding him guilty and sentencing him to life in prison, they went ahead and went through the execution process with him by sentencing him to death and executing him. Good evening, Lori Sutton. I'm not saying that we should take pity upon the man's soul, but after he shot himself in the head in a failed suicide attempt, he obviously wasn't a harm to anyone after that, especially himself or to anyone else. They basically had to keep him in protective custody instead of on death row, because even on death row, other inmates get out for 1 hour a day, and he couldn't protect himself even for 1 hour a day. So they kept him in a medical PC unit instead of on death row. He had no idea where he was. He knew that he had been convicted of a crime because they kept on telling him he was convicted of an awful crime, but he didn't know much more beyond that because it was all gone. But after lobotomizing himself, that's no surprise. No kidding. All right, question 7. John Wayne Gacy. Final meal is world famous. 1 bucket of KFC fried chicken, 1 pound of strawberries, 1 pound of fried shrimp, 2 diet sodas, and 2 cups of coffee. What item is missing from his final meal? FYI, he ate everything on the trays. Yes, he ate everything on the trays. Was it A, French fries, B, French bread with butter, C, mashed potatoes and gravy, or D, blood pudding? What item is missing from the above there from his final meal? That's a lot of food. I mean, I guess you might as well have a final meal like that. You're about to be executed, Mr. Gacy. Pigeon Mac and Amelia are going with C. Lori Sutton is going with A. What is missing from above from his final meal? Montana is going with C as well. Boop, boop, boom. We got C and for Montana short nights. Mashed potatoes and gravy. Sounds like a KFC family value meal right there. Bucket of fried chicken, mashed potatoes, gravy, and maybe some coleslaw and biscuits. You got a KFC meal. E. Banana. Donna, good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. What item is missing from this description of John Wayne Gacy's final meal? Cement Shoes is going with A. Love the sun. C. John Wayne Gacy. Pogo the Clown. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Donna. Purple is going with A, French fries. A bucket of KFC chicken. I couldn't eat that. I don't know about you guys, but that's a lot of chicken right there. Then a pound of strawberries, a pound of fried shrimp, 2 Diet Cokes, and 2 cups of coffee. And he ate something else on top of that? I think a bucket of KFC chicken, alone would have made me sick if I tried to eat a whole bucket. But I guess, you got time to eat it. Diet, yeah, right? Like he needs a Diet Coke. Apparently that was his favorite kind of soda, was Diet Coke. Purple's going with A. Elaine Ann, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. It's quite all right joining late. We're on question number 7. What item is missing? How long is it between last meal and execution? It all depends, short nice. Okay, so I got to give you I'll give you kind of a short breakdown of timeline. It works like this. But so there's no set time. It's not like, oh, it's 8 hours or 10 hours between last meal and execution. It could be 3 hours. It could be an hour. It could be 6 hours. There's no actual real set timeline. It works like this. They get the inmate. They get him prepared. They remove everything from his cell, all his personal belongings, everything of his is inventoried in front of the inmate. They stand there. He or she watches everything be inventoried, put into a box. It's then all taken away. They are then moved into another cell that's usually adjacent to it or down the hallway on death row. It's the last cell that they will ever be in. At that point, there is a time amount allowed for a pardon, reprieve from the governor of the state. Now, of course, this is completely different if it's the federal system, if they're a federal inmate, but on a state level. So they allow some time for the governor to call in. Every single inmate has an execution date and a time. So if their execution time is at 9 p.m. or 12 o'clock or 5 in the evening, they give usually a couple of hours afterwards for the governor to call. If the governor does not call and their attorney is not able to reach, a last chance Hail Mary pass to a stay of execution, through either a court system, then everything moves forward. From all that done, the governor didn't call, no stay of execution, their attorneys weren't able to do anything. That time comes for their execution. 1 hour before then, they prepare physically the actual inmate itself. They come in, they read them their last rites if they're religious, or if they have someone that they want to sit and pray with, they allow them that, and then they are led to the execution chamber. And they let in the witnesses and stuff like that, and they're on the other side of a window with a drape that is closed. They bring the inmate in, they tie them down. I'm giving the example of a lethal injection. They strap them down to the table. They get the actual concoction ready that they're going to give them to execute them. They then get them prepared, and then they open up the curtain so the witnesses to the execution can actually watch everything happen. Now, in the movies, you might see, where the phone rings while the inmate is there and they've already got the IV in. By that point, it's almost never happened. It may have happened once before, but that's more for dramatic, effects for Hollywood. And then they give the inmate the option to make a last statement, and then they carry out the execution and they're dead. But again, there is no time limit between last meal and when they actually have it, but they have a time. Most of the executions are done later in the evening, so all that stuff can take place beforehand. The governor calling their last day of execution from their attorneys or the court system. So all that has got closed, and then they actually kill them because it is murder, regardless of how people look at the. I'm not against it. I'm not for executions, for the death penalty. I believe that there are certain people in this world who have done horrific things, and we should have an eye and an eye for. You kill, a bunch of people, or you shoot up an elementary school. I don't know why we have to wait. We already know you did it. You know you did it. Why don't we just carry it out right away? But hope that answers your question. All right, John Wayne Gacy, what item is missing from that menu above? The answer is A as in apple, French fries. He had what was equivalent to one McDonald's supersized fry of quantity of French fries. It was not weighed out by a pound or anything else. It was just a large portion of French fries that would normally be given out there from the prison cafeteria system. So A as in apple, French fries. He ate French fries, a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, 1 pound of strawberries, 1 pound of fried shrimp, 2 diet sodas, and 2 cups of coffee. All right, question 8. Oh, and you're welcome. Victor Fergu, maybe a killer you haven't heard a lot of before. Doesn't make him any less of a purely evil man. He has been in 6 different specials, though, on serial killers. What was his last meal? Was it A, chicken pot pie and water? B, roast chicken grape Kool-Aid? C, one single olive with pit still inside? Or D, spaghettis and the meatballs and coffee? What was Victor's last meal? Lori, the last meals were started originally by the Puritans and the Dutch in the founding of America. I don't know the exact date. I would have to guess somewhere 1700s. the very first murderer in America actually came over on the Mayflower. One of the passengers on the Mayflower committed the very first murder, and he was the very first person who was executed in America. Well, it wasn't even America yet, right? We were just colonies back then. But he was the very first murderer. So, and then we had the moratorium, here in America on the death penalty until what was it, 75? No, 1976. We reinstated the death penalty. So was it 72 to 76? I think it was. My mind's a little boggled on like how long that moratorium was, but hello, Gemma. I guess C, B. Smith, she was going with C. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, Gemma. Scrolling. Okay, the very first execution in America was of Henry Dearborn of Maine, June 25th, 1790. 1790 is the answer to your question. Is when did they start the execution of 1790, and the last meal was started then as well. Dearborn spent money on wow. They made him pay for he was ordered to be executed. One Thomas Bird. Oh yeah. Conducted by U.S. Marshal. No, that's not the correct answer. U.S. Marshal Henry Dearborn of Maine on June 25th, 1790. He was ordered to be execute one Thomas Bird for murder on the high seas. In accordance with this, Dearborn spent money on building the gallows and a coffin. Well, it appears the U.S. Marshal Service has got a lot of information on it. I got 29 results on that. And yes, he was given a last meal of turkey and turnips. Turkey and turnips was his last meal. Ugh. All right. June 25th, 1790. How do prisons treat inmates with physical disabilities, such as someone in a wheelchair or someone who's blind and uses a cane? How do they treat them? Well, some prisons make accommodations for them. They put them in, instead of, they might be in general population, but some of them might let them out early. I couldn't answer that I can't give you an answer that would be for every single prison. So each prison would be, different. If they're blind, they may allow an escort or somebody to, get them from point A to point B. If they're in a wheelchair, they might let them out earlier than other people, or they might not give them any special accommodations at all. When it comes to the infirmed, they usually have a medical wing or a pod is just for those who are medically frail. who, elderly, a lot of elderly populations, especially in our American prisons today. They may give them a completely separate, access to the rec yard, and then there's those who are mentally ill. That's a huge issue, in prisons. Effectively, once we close down so many of the, state-run mental hospitals and mental health facilities, jails in America became the new mental hospitals because they just let them out and they committed crimes, and knowing if they were doing wrong or right, they didn't know, and they got arrested and they ended up back in prison or jail for it. And then they medicate them, they get them somewhat stable, and then they're done with their time and they let them back out. There are a lot of them that they're institutionalized, even when they're out on the streets. Discuss me, spaghetti and meatballs are one thing with extra coffee. Hunter Harrington. Good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. All right, question 8. The correct answer is C as in cat. One single olive with the pit still in it is all he had for his final meal. One single olive with the pit still in it. That was all he wanted. That's all they gave him. Holy heck, yeah. All right, question 9. Ronnie Lee Gardner was a killer, a man who had no remorse, and last words were, "I'm innocent, you F's." What was his last meal? Ronnie Lee Gardner's last meal. Was it a bowl of cold cereal with no milk? B, dry white toast and a whole fried chicken? C, grits with bacon grease, 4 sausage links and coffee? That's 4 links, as it's supposed to be 4 sausage links. Or D, lobster, steak, clams, oysters, and apple juice? What was Ronnie Lee Gardner's last meal? Good evening, Broken Justice. I really thought some wacko would have done in Christopher Watts by now. Well, Christopher Watts is in protective custody in a housing pod with other individuals who are convicted of crimes like Christopher Watts, and other individuals who are in that same housing pod are there for non-violent crimes. So he's basically in a pod, a housing unit, if you will, of individuals who are all a bunch of chicken shit, individuals just like him. He'll never get anywhere near out of protective custody. He'll never work on a work farm. He'll never have a job detail where he will have to, work with those from general population. He'll never go out on the rec yard in an area where general population can get to him, because at Dodge Correction Center, each section is sectioned off from the others where he would go outside at all. That pathetic individual will die, and someday, hopefully, they bury his ass under the prison. Kind of biased against him, man. Ronnie Lee Gardner. But he will give Bible studies. He will, just like a lot of other inmates, who have been locked up and are looking for any kind of pity or hope of a reduced sentence, they will say that they are reformed, that they have now accepted Jesus in their life as their Savior, and that they'll swear up and down that they will never do anything wrong again. I do not believe Christopher Watts is now religious. I do not believe that he has accepted Jesus Christ as his Savior. I do not believe that he is leading any religious study group. If he is, the people he is leading are just as blind as him. Are you right winged, sir? Hunter, I don't know what right winged is. Could you explain what that is? I don't know what that is. I'm not trying to be, flippant. I just don't know what right winged is. And that's the truth. It doesn't matter. Chris Watts is convicted of beyond terrible crimes. He is not to be trusted. He's using Jesus as an excuse to get away from his behavior. That's true, probably to a point, Gemma. Uh, I just don't believe that he's accepted Jesus Christ as his Savior because his family has always been religious. Then he gave it up and swore it off, and then came back to it. Someone like a politician of right wing, like being national, means something like political on the right wing. Well, that doesn't really help me a lot, Hunter. But I'll explain who I am in this context. I don't vote or believe in any one political party. I believe that everyone who is in politics is out to serve themselves. I don't trust anyone on a national level, especially those in DC, the talking suits. And I am a starch supporter of my constitutional rights and that everyone else's constitutional rights. And I think a lot of Americans are absolutely effing blind to how much the government has trespassed upon our constitutional rights when they weren't looking. And they did it in the disguise of safety, especially after 9/11. So I vote for whoever I think will do the right job, and which is very seldom. And I'll leave it at that. All right. Ronnie Lee Gardner. The correct answer for question 9 is D as in dog. He had lobster, steak, clams, oysters, and apple juice as his last meal. That was Ronnie Lee Gardner's last meal. Yummy. I can't even afford that, but that was his last meal. Hot dog. Just wow. 3 for 6. All right. Well, let's get the next one, Pigeon Mac. Get that comeback started. Epic comeback start right now. Timothy McVeigh. I told you all to put this one in your pocket. Do we remember back earlier? This answer has already been given. Even crazy homegrown terrorists get a final meal and request. Although when asked what he wanted, he initially said nothing. He changed his mind to what? A, 4 cookies. B, 2 pints of chocolate chip mint ice cream. C, just 1 Pepsi. Or D, cottage cheese and peas. Peaches, sorry, not peas, peaches. I would go big too. I mean, right? Short and nice. It is our last meal. I mean, if you're going to go big, but again, most states have a limit on how much can be spent on the actual meal, or if they have that, and they may also have a restriction that it has to be procured within a certain distance from the actual penitentiary. You can't stand mint chocolate chip ice cream. Salad a la Brian B. Can't eat ice cream anymore. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you lactose intolerant? Elaine's going with just one Pepsi. Just one Pepsi. She wouldn't give it to me. I'm okay. I'm okay, Mom. Just one Pepsi. And she wouldn't give it to me. I can't remember the guy's name, but he requested a shot of black velvet and a cigarette, and they said no. You get hives, ooh, from ice cream, from from dairy. You remember that song? Suicidal tendencies. All Mike wanted was just a Pepsi, just one Pepsi, and she wouldn't give it to him. He's okay though. Just remember, he's okay. He went to their institutions of higher learning, or whatever the hell it was. Just one Pepsi. I think of the former inmate who ruined it for Texas didn't eat any of it. He didn't, Montana. That is absolutely true. He ordered a huge meal and didn't eat a damn bit of it. He just did it because he wanted to see how far he could go. I mean, it's kind of an asshole thing to do, but you're about to be executed, and of course, he screwed it up for everybody else afterwards. Sometimes I try to do things and it just doesn't work out the way I want it to, and I get really frustrated. And it's like I try hard and to take the time, and it just doesn't work out the way I want it to. It's like I concentrate on the real hard, but it just doesn't work out. And everything I do, everything I try, just turns out. It's like I need time to figure these things out, but there's always something going. Hey, Mike, you know what we've been thinking? You've been having a lot of problems lately. Maybe you get away, and like maybe you should talk about it. You feel a lot better. And I go, no, it's okay. I'll figure it out. Just leave me alone. I'll figure it out. You just work on it myself. And they go, well, you want to talk about it. I'll be here. You'll probably feel a lot better if you talk about it. So don't you want to talk about it? And I go, no, I don't want to. I'm okay. I'll figure it out myself. And they just keep on bugging me. They just keep on bugging me, and it builds up inside. They're going to institutionalize. You're going to be institutionalized. You're going to be brainwashed with bloodshot eyes. You won't have any say. They brainwash you until you see their way. I'm not crazy. Institutionalized. Just one word. Crazy. Institutionalized. Institutions. You're not crazy. Institution. They stuck me in an institution. They said it was the only solution. They gave me the needed professional help to protect me from the enemies myself. There's more to it than that. Suicidal tendencies. What year? What year did that song come out? Institutionalized by suicidal tendencies. Does it say? Oh my gosh, there's a lot more lyrics than I thought there were. It doesn't say. Just says that it's a copyright of BMG Records, Universal Studios. Rage here. All right, Timothy McVeigh. The correct answer for number 10 is B as in boy. 2 pints of chocolate chip mint ice cream. Timothy McVeigh. 88. That's probably it, Elaine. I don't remember, to tell you the truth. But I can guarantee you right now that CD is in my wife's her SUV, and it's in the CD player right now. I guarantee it. Because every time I get in to go fill her car up with gas, it's always playing. Well, not that song, but that CD. All right. Question 11. Anthony Ray Westley sadly had a long history of violent crimes and drug arrest. He never stood a chance, as they say. What meal did Anthony T have as his last meal? And T in quotes there because that's what his friends called it, was tea. Was it A, fried chicken smothered in gravy? B, a cheese pizza? C, sweet peas and cornbread? Or D, cheeseburger and tater tots? What did Anthony Ray Westley have as his last meal? Good evening, Tammy. I'm sorry if I missed you earlier. Oh, all right, Elaine, we were off by a little bit. That song was released in 1983. I think we're dating ourselves there a little bit. 1983, Institutionalized by Suicidal Tendencies was released. 1983. Wow. Institutionalized was the debut single by American hardcore punk crossover thrash band Suicidal Tendencies. Was released in 1983, the first single from their album. 1983. That's what I say. Whoa. Right? I remember the song, but I didn't know it was that long ago. Anthony Ray Westley sadly had a long history of violent crimes and drug arrest. He never stood a chance, as they say. What meal did Anthony T have as his last meal? Chicken grill. Does lemon pie. Good evening, lemon pie. Tea and crumpets. Welcome, lemon pie. I learned the other day. I don't know how to put this into a trivia question, but it's music related. Since I have music on my brain right now, was when it came to the movie Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail, they were running out of leads, people to actually come up with the money to make the movie, Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail. And one of the bands that initially put up the money was Pink Floyd put up a large portion of money to fund, to back the movie. And they never would have done it if it wasn't for their studio engineer, someone that probably no one has ever heard of before. He had a little bit of successes himself. His name was Alan Parsons. And he went on to have the Alan Parsons Project. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe probably people don't remember who he is, but Alan Parsons brought Pink Floyd into the mix. But Alan Parsons actually worked for a lot of different bands. He worked for Led Zeppelin. He worked with Pink Floyd. He worked with B.B. King. But in the studio as a sound engineer. Music on the brain. Run away, run away. Popular request, prison chicken must suck. Yeah. It's a popular request by a lot of people. B says Elena Pizza. Purple's going with A. Alan Parsons Project. Yep. I could win probably 5 or 6 albums by the Alan Parsons Project here. I know they're out here in the studio. I was listening to one about a week ago. I don't remember which one it was. Eye in the Sky. There you go. That's a good one. Anthony Ray Wesley. Sadly, had a long history of violent crimes and drug arrests. He never stood a chance, as they say. What meal did Anthony T have as his last meal? Question 11. The answer is A, as in apple, fried chicken smothered in gravy. Now, Parsons is still pretty well known. Do people remember who Alan Parsons is? Well, that's good. E, a prison burrito, probably not. A, as in apple, Anthony Ray Wesley had fried chicken smothered in it was fried chicken smothered in gravy. Well, guess you're going to clog up the artery. You're not going to need the artery in a couple of minutes or whatever. Oh, Pigeon Mac is 4 for 7. All right, come on, man. We can get the next one. Alan Lee Tiny Davis. Well, there is nothing nice to say about him other than he had good penmanship. That's true. He did have really, good penmanship. That's it. He was a loser and deserved to die. What was his last meal? And if you really want to be disgusted by a criminal, look up Alan Lee Tiny Davis. If you're not familiar with the crimes that he actually committed. Was his last meal A, garlic bread and spaghetti? B, shrimp, lobster, barbecue pork, and garlic bread? C, jailhouse wine and chocolate cake? Or D, fried okra and Diet Coke? Where do we go from here now that all the children have grown up? There you go. Alan Lee Tiny Davis. He had really good penmanship, and he wrote a lot of letters. And Alan Lee Tiny Davis actually wrote not poetry, but what you call it, like short, whimsical, short stories. He had really good penmanship. I'll give him that. Well, besides that, he was, I don't know, he's a human life, but still. E, Hot Pockets. Hot Pocket. A, B, D, B, A. Alan Lee Tiny Davis. Question number 12. I just looked him up. He's a whore. Oh, yeah. finally caught Deb. Hello, Debbie. How are we doing today? I hope you had a wonderful weekend, Debbie. Alan Lee Tiny Davis. B sounds like it's a non-kosher special. Well, I don't know how kosher it could be with barbecue pork or anything else. And there's that lobster again. Yeah, it's actually on a lot of different states. Surf and turf, surf and turf meals are actually on a lot of states eligible last meal menus. It's not exactly what you call gourmet lobster or steak, but it is on the menus with a lot. Hi, Will. Me to you. I am so glad I found you live. Notifications didn't work here. I'm sorry, Debbie. F. Fresh brimstone in hell. Brimstone in hell. Question 12. What was Alan Lee Tiny Davis's last meal? Whatever it was too good. I'm not kidding. A lot, and a lot of these people, they're not as famous as your Ted Bundys or your Gacy's, but some of these people are they're just as horrific as, your Bundys and Gacy's and your Ridgeways and, your Jeffrey Dahmers. Some of these people, like we learned last week, the one guy, he was caught with what, 12, decapitated, chopped up bodies in his apartment. His mom spent everything, to defend him. I'm like, you can't, how are you going to defend that? I'm glad they still had the chair around for him. Does last meal have a taupe prepared does it have to be prepared at prison? Uh, no, not necessarily, Lori. There's no golden rule. I mean, certain states may say the meal can't cost over a certain amount, or it must be procured within a certain distance. I'm assuming they're not going to fly in like chocolates from like France for the inmate, and where they'd have to wait for it to arrive. Requests like that would be stricken down. But is there like a golden rule that says that our rule that says that it has to be prepared at the prison itself? It depends. Every state has got different rules. I couldn't read past the first paragraph about him because it made me too mad. What a crazy society this is of people. Damn. Yeah. No gold leaf desserts. No. Well, unless you can get it for under, with it. They tell the inmate, you can make a lot in every state except for the state of Texas, but they're not every state actively uses the death penalty. They don't get their last meal unless they actively are using the death penalty. And they tell them you can order a meal, and this is the maximum you can spend on the meal. It can't be over this much. And it might be $25, it might be $50. I'm just spitballing there, but if it's usually right in there, that is what the total value of the meal can be. And they ask them. But a lot of inmates, when they go through and they're requesting their last meal before execution, they usually pick something that they actually like, as opposed to trying to be extravagant, or over the top, extravagant. They want something that's like maybe it's a meal that brought them pleasure or reminds them of something, when they were younger, of a good time, of a time when they weren't, violent, or maybe it's something that grandma made for them, or a grandfather, or maybe they had it at a diner, whatever it might have been. All right, question 12. Alan Lee Tiny Davis, what was his last meal? The correct answer is B as in boy, shrimp, lobster, barbecue pork, and garlic bread was Alan Lee Tiny Davis's final meal. Question 13. Steven Anderson, a strange man by all accounts. On top of being strange, he was a cold-hearted killer. What strange request did they, the prison, not give him on top of the following? He had the following as his last meal: 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, 1 whole pie, and corn and coffee. But what strange request did he ask for that they did not give him? Was it A, an eraser, B, to call his dead victim one more time, C, 1 2-pound bag of chocolate covered ants, or D, 2 chocolate candy bars? What one strange request on top of his meal, which was 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, 1 whole pie, and corn and coffee, what did they not give him? Whenever it says lobster, I pick it. Well, you got that one then. If you always pick lobster. Chocolate covered poo poo. A strange man by all accounts. On top of being strange, he was a cold hearted killer. What strange request did they, the prison, not give him on top of the following: 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, 1 whole pie, and a corn and coffee? E, popcorn. E, to slap Chris Rock. Oh. Steven Anderson. There's a lot of pressure in Hollywood right now on the American Actors Guild to forgive Will Smith for what he did. No joke. D, says Starfire. What strange request did the prison not give him on top of his last meal? Lemon pie. That's what broke the internet. Steven Anderson. Was anyone else? They'd be locked up. When it came to the what Will Smith did, it came down to Chris Rock refused to press charges for what he actually did, him slapping him. I don't agree with it, but I'm not Chris Rock. He made that decision himself, not to press charges. Oh yeah, he was exceedingly decent about the whole entire thing. He was. He may have gotten a settlement. You know what? The one thing I'll tell you this in a minute. I would have pressed charges and sued his ass. Yeah. The one thing that really got me about the entire thing, I mean, putting aside the actual assault itself, what Will Smith did, all right, screaming at him, interrupting, the Oscars, and everything else, putting all that aside, the part that really got me about the entire thing is when all Chris Rock asked him for was an apology for the entire thing. And Will Smith turned to his movie studio, his production company that he owns, his management, and they hired an entire sound crew, film crew, script writer, makeup artist, and a set wardrobe, and background individual to come in. An entire movie crew came to his home and filmed the actual apology with multiple camera angles for the apology instead of just picking up his cell phone and FaceTiming him, Zooming him, or whatever, and just saying, look, I was out of control, blah, blah, blah. This is why I did it. I'm sorry. He hired an entire crew to come in and film the apology. He didn't write the apology himself, a script writer wrote the apology. He couldn't even be bothered days later to, say, you know what? I fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. Regardless of what's going on in his life, he couldn't even man up and apologize, in the right way. Just called him up and said, "Hey, man, I'm really sorry for what I did." That tells you a lot about an individual when they do something like that. Is it something he felt that he needed to do because of his status, and being who he is? I can't get jiggy with it. Will Smith in the movie The Apology. I don't think he's done. I think Hollywood, when it comes to a lot of things, they forgive and forget. I mean, look how long Harvey Weinstein was in his position in Hollywood, and people within Hollywood have been talking for 20, 30 years, or however long he had been there, about what he had been doing, and they allowed it to happen. I mean, if he can stay in power in a position, of authority over people and to make or break their careers, what's Will Smith and slapping a comedian, on a talk, at an award show? That's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. All right, question 13. What was Steven Anderson's last meal? We know his last meal was 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, a whole pie, corn, and coffee. But what strange request did they refuse to give him? Excuse me. The answer is A as in apple. They refused to give him an eraser. He asked for an eraser. They asked him what he wanted it for. He said, "That's my business." Because he didn't need it, because when they move him to the last cell before he's to be executed, where he receives his last meal, he's got no reason to have an eraser. They figured that he was going to eat the meal, then eat the eraser and choke on it. So they said, no, we're not going to give you an eraser. That was his odd request. gone down in the Hall of Fame as a Simpkin King. All right. He wanted to erase his past and start over. Yeah, but they refused to give him an eraser. That was the request that they denied. Okay, question 14. Ronnie Threadgill loved to dance and sing. By counts, this was the only thing that made him happy. Too bad a life of crime was his other enjoyment. What was his last meal? Was it a cold tuna salad sandwich, B, a tuna melt sandwich, C, a can of tuna and a bowl of grapes, or D, a baked chicken? What was Ronnie Threadgill's last meal? Question number 14. Lemon pie is going with can of tuna and a bowl of grapes. Cement shoes is going with a baked chicken. Tammy is going with B. Lena B. Earpiece sleeping pills. Pigeon Mac D. This is the first time I haven't cheated. Love ya and respect the way you play this game without cheating. LOL. I don't. What's cheating, Debbie? I don't think there is any cheating. I've always encouraged everybody to use the internet, phone a friend, shout out the window to somebody walking down the street, ask the clerk at the Love's gas station, anything. If you don't know the answer, find the answer. We're all just playing for fun, anyways. Just trying to see if anybody remembers these individuals, and if nothing else, maybe these people, the names of these inmates who have been incarcerated and executed, they'll make you want to look them up and learn more about the crimes that they committed. Every one of these inmates has a Wikipedia page, although some of those Wikipedia pages are really, really wrong. Googling the answers before I do that daily. Oh, I have a degree in Google. Hello, Google University. You're so factual and true to the facts. Well, I do my best, Debbie, but I am human and I do make mistakes. And when I do, I have freely step up and say, look, I have made a mistake. Because that's all we can ever do as human beings. Learn from our mistakes and try not to make them again. Did you do a video on last meals? I have short and ice on some individuals, and I've done it on last meals of the condemned. I couldn't get past the first paragraph of Tiny because what he did was so awful. Oh yeah, he was one sick SOB, cement shoes. Ronnie Threadgill. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying the game, Debbie. Ronnie Threadgill loved to dance and sing. By all accounts, it was the only thing that made him happy. Too bad a life of crime was his other enjoyment. What was his last meal? I used to have a series on last meals videos, but unfortunately, just like this, this stream. Uh, YouTube's new terms of agreement, TOS, terms of service. There are certain words that are in content that will no longer be monetizable on the platform. And there are certain types of content that if it works out the way that a lot of us are reading the agreement, will not be promoted to general audiences, put it that way. I lost count of how many times I have watched the Chris Watts food video and laughed while enjoying the filet mignon. I've been listening while I pretend to be a plumber. There you go, okie dokie. Ronnie Threadgill loved to dance and sing. By all accounts, it's the only thing that made him happy. Too bad a life of crime was his other enjoyment. What was his last meal? Question number 14. His last meal was a baked chicken. D as in dog. Baked chicken. He ate pretty much the entire baked chicken, and that was it. That's all he wanted was just the chicken. He didn't have any sides. He just had the chicken. I've been playing while watching football. Oh, I forgot about football. I'm sorry. 5 and 9, says Pigeon Mac. Question 15. Israel Keys. Okay, this isn't a death row last meal, but it's still the last meal he ate. So it's his last meal. What did he eat last? Israel Keys. Was it A, plain chips, a ham sandwich, B, cookies, soda, and carrot sticks, C, taco salad, water, and apple slices, or D, a chicken burger, fries, and a tea? What was the last thing Israel Keys ate? Not a death row last meal, but the last thing he ate. Israel Keys. It probably wasn't humble pie. Meth. Israel Keys. Mountain lion. He had roasted mountain lion. Nobody's guessed mountain lion tonight. Mountain lion in a Yugo while smoking meth. Excuse me. Mountain lion. F. Not the taste of success. Mountain lion in a Yugo while smoking meth. A 1980 Yugo. Oh, I forgot about the mountain lion option. RJ, Will, what's your favorite meal? Let's see. Good question, RJ. Let's see. For breakfast, favorite breakfast meal would probably be biscuits and gravy. I hardly ever eat lunch. So my favorite dinner meal would probably be linguine and clams or fettuccine and clams, something along that lines. But whenever I do eat lunch, and probably something like a BLT or a club sandwich, something like that. But I hardly ever eat lunch. I'm usually way too busy. Sometimes I come in this studio and I sit down. I'll get in here at about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I look up and it's already like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, what? I missed the entire day. B sounds comic enough. Popcorn and meth? Haven't tried one. Well, look into before I clean the toilet. Popcorn meth laced with fentanyl. Oh, sounds lovely. I want some of that. My niece actually works at a popcorn store. They make gourmet popcorns. I've been meaning to get over there. I don't eat popcorn because it gets stuck in my teeth. I hate that. But she works at a gourmet popcorn store. M&Ms in case a diet dew with a flood after the needle. Meth and Lunchables while driving a Yugo to find a mountain lion. Israel Keys. This isn't a death row last meal, but it's still the last meal he ate. What was it? The last meal that Israel Keys ate. The correct answer for question 15 is C as in cat. Taco salad, water, and apple slices. He got it from I don't know what you would call it, a cantina, I guess. Lemon pie, which is worse? But taco salad, water, and apple slices. Grade your trivia night. Did you get an A, B, C, D, or E? Nothing but mountain lion here. C, not. How many did you get correct? 1 to 3, 4 to 7, 8 to 11, or 12 to 15? Or E, nothing but mountain lion here. Pigeon Mac got a C. I'm an underachiever. Well, you don't have a category for O. For 0? That's E. Nothing but mountain lion. Between a D and an E, it's because May. Is because a real word? Now, here's the reason why I asked that. All right. The other day, I was looking up Jimi Hendrix's lyrics to, was it Kiss the Sky? And I thought he was saying because, but of the official lyrics to Jimi Hendrix's song Kiss the Sky, he says scuzz. SCUSE. Scuzz. I'm like, okay. I didn't know that was a real word. Trivia night is fun. Yep, I'm from Kentucky. Their words are nothing but a thing. I miss Kentucky. Used to go there in the summertime when I was younger. My friend's grandfather is from Alabama, and we used to fly down to Mobile, Alabama, and We would always go to Kentucky. Short Nice, you didn't keep track? That's pronounced like Osme, i.e. Excuse me. All right. Squeeze me. Excuse me. Excuse. I lived for trivia night. Well, thank you, Purple. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You enjoyed the trivia nights. So next week is last meals of famous stars. All the questions are about Hollywood stars, actors, or musicians, and the last meal that they ate, and the actual when it came to what their last meal is, according to either their surviving widow or widower, their partner, or their management, or somebody who is close to the actual person who has said what their last meal was. But last meals of the stars is next week, next Sunday. I keep cutting out. Oh, John Candy comes to mind, and John Candy. I tried to put John Candy and what was the comedian oh, damn it. Oh, I can picture him now, and now I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was a damn it. I'm having one of those senior moments right now. No, not Steve Martin. Not Chris Farley. Chris Farley would have been nice, but I couldn't confirm him either. Horseshack. Sam Kinison. There you go, Pigeon Mac. Thank you, Sam Kinison. I tried to put both of them on there, but when I was looking up trying to document both of them, they're both they have different managers, but both managers for each case, the manager for Candy and for Kinison, both of their managers made contrary statements to what their last meals were. And I was like, damn it, I really wanted to put both of them in there. But I know Frank Sinatra is on there, but I don't think Lawrence Welk is in there. But I know Frank Sinatra is. But I mean, that's just one. Jimi Hendrix is in there. Amy Winehouse. John Belushi. Who else is in there? So as I'm rattling these names off, you can look these up, and you'll give you a head start on what was their last meals. Give you so you're like, hey, I know what their last meal is, so I'm going to get those 4 right. Meth. I do not believe that meth would count as the last meal, Short Nice. It may have been the last thing that someone took, but I mean, the last meal that Kurt Cobain ate. Does anybody know what that is? Last meal. What was the last meal that Kurt Cobain ate? That's a good one. I'd rather guess cold, more fun. There you go, lemon pie. But anyway, it was interesting. So I already have this last meal of the condemned already done, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, what would be a lot more interesting is if I originally started off with the idea of like, what are 15 musical artists? I mean, I could pick 15 from the 27 Club, right? And what were all the 27 Club? So I started like, okay, well, last meals of the 27 Club, or pick 15 artists out of that, and that became hard, to be able to document what some of them ate. A lot of people don't really want to focus on what the last meal that some of them ate was, or they've never talked about it. I'm wondering, can weed now that it's legal in most states be allowed? Meth isn't legal yet. You're wondering, can weed? Can weed? Well, Debbie, yeah, weed is legal um, in a lot of states, um, medical wise, and for recreational. It depends on the state. Some states have recreational laws, and some states have just medical marijuana, and some states have both. But what is the actual question? Can they like death row inmates? Can they have marijuana? The answer is no. The federal government still says that marijuana in any amount is illegal. Now, the legalization is only at a state level. Until the federal government decriminalizes it, and that's a whole nother pocket of worms right there. I mean, if you have a dispensary in Colorado and you sell marijuana, you can't legally deposit it into a bank, that is FDIC insured, because then you're basically laundering the money through the federal government through a bank for something that is federally technically, against the law. And I guess a lot of the cartels are figuring this out as well. I live in Washington State, and we have recreational and we have medical marijuana in this state. I mean, I'm probably 5 blocks, 6 blocks away. Well, right, I have to. There's a 2 mile stretch between my house and then when you get to the actual city, because I live in a little suburb that is outside of town. But once you get into town, about 5 blocks in, next to the 7-Eleven, there's a dispensary where I live, and you can buy it right there. Good night, Short and Ice. Thank you for joining us. You have a wonderful week ahead. When it comes to marijuana, though, to each their own. I know. I never was, even as a teenager, I never smoked marijuana. I never, as a young adult, I never smoked marijuana. I just didn't see the need for it. I will admit that I may have smoked it once or twice, but as Bill Clinton said, I did not inhale it and I did not enjoy it. But and if I had a kind of a different view on marijuana, medical or recreational. I had a different view on it up until my wife got breast cancer. And when she was going through chemotherapy and radiation therapy, and um, I looked at the medication that they had given her for anti-nausea medication, and that medication cost $1,200, a month. And all of her friends and other people, that we knew, were bringing her little baby food jars of marijuana. Um, it may not have helped fight the actual cancer, but it definitely made it. If she was to smoke it, it would have given her the ability to be able to eat. And I watched her. She had the body by chemo. You want to talk about a good diet plan. Whoo, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you want to drop a lot of weight really quick, do chemotherapy. You're going to drop the pounds like that. But I definitely looked at marijuana in a different light from that point to now. I don't think anybody should smoke it and get behind the wheel of a car. I certainly don't agree that it should be legal and to the point where anyone can get it. I think it's where alcohol is restricted to age 21 and over. I think marijuana should be the same way, recreational wise. But if it's for medical and it's done in an environment like at home, do whatever you want. Recreational or medical wise. If you want to smoke it, smoke it. Just like I don't what you do behind your closed doors in your own time. As long as you're not hurting somebody else, why does it matter to me? But along that lines though, is when she was going through the chemotherapy, and I started wondering, looking at the marijuana and if it could help, if the nausea, just the nausea, just to be able. She couldn't drink just a simple glass of tea without it making her sick and upchucking everything. I started looking into why does this medication that's supposed to help her cost $1,200 for a month's supply, and insurance companies wouldn't cover it, and that's what we had to pay for it. And I started looking into why is that the only option? Why do we not have a medicinal, you know, drug or something else that's cheaper? And then I started looking into medical marijuana, and I was like, this this drug, and why is it illegal? Why has it been classified as the way it has been? And you'd be surprised if you go down that rabbit hole why marijuana is actually illegal in the first place. Rocky Road Lady. Mom's doing a keep job of keeping this interesting. Thank you. I use a vape pen for marijuana. I've had 6 major spinal surgeries. Oh, I am truly sorry about that. Very funny evening. Y'all have a great week. Stay safe out there. You too, Purple, and thank you again. Saying yeah, Purple. I may have put something about what you just said there in the trivia questions coming up. Make sure you tune in. Follow the money, Will. Oh yeah. Oh, I did. I did. And when the love of your life that gets cancer or is diagnosed with something like that, you'll do absolutely anything and everything to try to save them. You'll never understand what I just said there, and it won't ever make any sense to you until you're ever put in that position. I don't wish it upon anybody. Even my mortal enemies in this world. I don't have any, but if I did, I wouldn't wish it upon them. I've had more hardware in my spine than surgeries has ever been. It's much better than taking all those pills, I think. Well, Tammy, I hope that you'll able to find some type of relief from it. Even if it's just momentarily. But it's amazing, you know. And there are other things out there besides marijuana that have been proven, that have helped people, not with just cancer, but with other medical issues that, where marijuana has proven definitely, beneficial to a lot of different things, a lot of different medical issues, but other things, not vitamins necessarily, but other herbs that are out there have proven to be successful in helping treat, ailments in the human population. But they we have an entire campaign out there that says, don't believe in the homeopathic remedies because the homeopathic remedies, can kill you, and they can if you misuse them or if you use them in too high of a dosage. They definitely can kill you, and a lot of these things are really harmful to us. I mean, but it's really hard to find the right information. I mean, and like those same lines with marijuana. My niece, they still don't know what happened to my niece, but she had suffered from severe insomnia, and vertigo, and she had other medical issues that came up, and they came up out of the blue. And the only thing that gave her back her life was vaping, the CBD oil. Yep, my early fights in poor. I worked in the medical system, and insurance tried to treat me as a non-payer for over a decade at 36 years old. I'm now 64, thanks to Mary Jo and Wanda. I got the reference there, Debbie. I got that. I got that. That's good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everyone had fun playing the trivia tonight. So again, next weekend is Last Meals of the Stars, and then we have Al Capone, and then it is serial killer nicknames, and then we have a hodgepodge one after that. But you can find what trivia night, what the questions are about if you just go to 411 Now, where all the playlists are on that page with the banner at the top, 411 Now. Right at the top there, it tells you upcoming live streams of trivia, and it tells you each and every one of what date to be. You can click on them and to be notified of when the next trivia night you want to be notified of, and you'll get notification 30 minutes before the actual live stream. Now, I've tested it out tonight. I was notified 31 minutes before I actually streamed tonight. So maybe they're making adjustments to the notification system, and it's actually working. If you click on notify me, as opposed to the subscribe, the bell icon, I don't know how well that works still, but clicking on notify me of live stream seems to be working. By the way, I follow you on Facebook too. Thanks always. Well, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. Thank you again, Will, and thank you to everyone for being here. And stay safe and have a good week. And you as well, Inner Peas. Facebook work good. Good, Debbie. I'm glad it's working. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take off from here tonight. Thank you again for joining me. And I will see you next Sunday, same time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But again, if you're not a subscriber, I hope you will consider subscribing. Additionally, don't forget to give this a thumbs up. Both of them are free. It's absolutely free to become a subscriber. It's absolutely free to give every video that you like a thumbs up. It does not, if nothing else, it helps it move it up just a tiny little bit in the algorithm to, other people can enjoy the same content. But you all take care. Have a wonderful